I believe, 5:30, Tuesday, July 27th. And I would like to bring the Douglas Board of Health to order. First on the agenda, we have, how did I lose that? Okay, we have what we call swine. And oh, there it is, okay. But that's not the one I wanted.
No.
That's okay.
Here, do you want this? Oh, what do you
No,
want?
I had one that I wrote on.
Oh.
That's all right, no problem, no problem. Okay, so we're dealing with an issue, and I want to make one thing clear. If you could understand that our position as Board of Health, we are here to look out for the health, thank you, Corey, health and welfare of our citizens in the town of Douglas. We're not here to take sides, we're not here to do that. We just want to make sure that whatever we come up with real results, then we can address them as the Board of Health. Okay, does everybody understand? Okay. Excuse me, should I call you Miss Dupree?
My legal name is Lugujo, but I go by Dupree.
Okay. Well, Dupree is probably better, I can pronounce that a little better, a little easier than, no offense, but, hi, how are you, Amanda?
Good, how are you?
Good. Okay, so, let's see. Okay, so, is that your attorney right here?
Yes.
Okay. And can you hear us?
Yes, good evening, members of the board. My name is Adrian Lasan. I'm counsel for the homeowners at 32 Hemlock Street.
Okay, very well, thank you.
Is there only audio, no video?
No, there's video. Oh, you're not seeing it. You're not seeing us, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, how come?
I see that Douglas came. Oh, magnificent.
Okay, you can see us now.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's good.
Okay, great. Okay, so with that being said, and we have, hopefully, the attorney, Douglas attorney will be coming on as well. So the situation is at, the location is at 28 to 32 Hemlock Street, and if possible, I'd like you to, address the board and tell us what you feel, what's going on, and would anybody like to start?
I would go first.
Okay, sure. Mr. Hutnick?
Can you pull a chair up so I can go with you? I'll hook it.
No, I got it. I'm Stephen. This is Gail Hutnack. We live at 28 Hemlock Street. And after the last meeting, and there was a couple of comments that were made, and there are rumors going around town, and I want to put an end to the rumors right now, that we are not getting ready to sell our property, and we are not moving out of town.
It's the first I've ever heard of it.
Well, that is a rumor that I have heard, okay? And I have owned this property for 50 years, and I feel like I have been a good caretaker of the land. And I hope that in the end, I leave the land better for the next landowner than the way I found it. Not that it was in bad shape, but I just hope I leave it a little bit better. Our neighbors, the Duprees, informed us back in April, thereabouts, that they were thinking about getting pigs. I was informed by Amy that she had checked with the Board of Health, and they were legally okay with them having 4 pigs on less than 5 acres of land. And she showed me where they were going to put them. I was not thrilled because I know the lay of the land and I know what's going to happen with the runoff from the pig pens. It's coming onto my property. I was assured that they had done their homework and were building safe cages and the pigs were going to be properly cared for. Sometime later, they started to erect more cages, more pens, within 100 feet of our well. My wife and I got a little bit nervous, and we started looking up regulations. And I understand that in the town of Douglas, there is no specific regulations regarding animals. However, if you read up on animal waste and the storage of it, it is treated as if it is a septic system leach field, or should be, because the runoff from animal waste is no worse than the waste that would come out of a septic system. The lay of the land is such that that water infiltrates through the boundary, which is a stone wall, onto my property. It cascades down across my back lawn and goes around my house, both right side and the left side. As you face my house, my well is to the right side. That water comes down that lawn, goes into a flower garden that we have around the well, and then it washes down and goes off my driveway. Approximately 200 feet from that point is the Tinkerville Brook. The federal government says that you cannot have waste runoff run into any waterway. That is a violation of the Clean Water Act. These are regulations that I have just now started to learn a lot about because of the situation that's next door. Since everybody here on the board came down to visit the site, I had gone up and given Kristen a report of one of the water samples that we had taken and sent it off. And it came back that there is E. coli bacteria and chloroform bacteria. Chloroform bacteria says that it's fecal matter. There's only one place fecal matter is coming into my well from, and that's over the stone wall in the pig pens next door. How polluted is E. coli and what can you have? It doesn't say on this report. Further research, we found another report that says if you have 1 CFU per 100 milliliters of water, you cannot drink the water. Anybody want to take a guess how polluted my well is?
Right now?
I have no idea.
The second sample that we sent off was a very extensive, a very expensive test. I have 20,600 CFUs per 100 milliliters in my well. I cannot bathe in it. I cannot drink it. I can't wash my hands in it. 1 CFU is too much to drink. I have 20,600. How do you clean it up? You chlorinate the water. The federal government says I cannot begin to clean up my well until the contaminated soil is removed, buried, or in some way remediated, a berm set up so no water comes from that property onto my property, so that I can begin to clean up my lawn in my backyard so that I can chlorinate my well. E. coli lives in the soil for approximately 130 days. If they do nothing on that side of the stone wall, I have to wait until November 27th before I can begin to clean up my house and my well. November 27th. My well has to be chlorinated, pumped out, let fill, pumped out, and then a water sample taken by the people that I talk to. If it passes the test, test it again in a month. Each test cost me $100.
That test costs more.
I have paid $400 to test water I should not be testing because they weren't concerned about where they put their pigs or doing the thing that the federal government says they needed to do. Build a berm, dig a ditch to catch any runoff, and remediate it to some place that makes it so it does not hurt anybody else. There is another regulation that says no runoff from any agricultural manure is allowed to cross onto another person's property. To this point, right now, tonight, they have done nothing on the other side of that stone wall to stop any runoff, any rainstorm from coming over onto my property. Every day that that's allowed to go on, it's another 130 days I have to wait. I called my insurance company and said, can I get help from the insurance company? And they say, no, you're on your own. I know the town of Douglas isn't going to do anything because it's not their problem. Back in June 15th, when we went up to the office and talked to Christine and filed the papers to stop them from having the pigs where they wanted to have them, they immediately put in for variance to get more pigs. Not to solve the problem, to get more pigs. I cannot afford to put in a deep well. If I clean up my house after the well has been purged, I have to wait 2 days before I can use that water. The water has to sit in all my water pipes in the house for 12 days. 12 hours minimum. And then I have to pump everything through. On average, they're telling me 2 months from the start of the process until I can start using my water. I have heard nothing. If they have an attorney, why has not their attorney reached out to me to pay my bills of what I'm going to have to go through? But back in June 19th, we tried to stop this from happening by going to the Board of Health so that I wouldn't have this problem with my neighbor. I don't like it. Everybody thought I was being cruel and just a grouchy old guy, that I wanted to stop them from doing what they wanted to do. That's the furthest there is from the truth. If they wanted to have pigs and build a barn over there and put them inside and take care of everything, okay. So long as it passes by all of the boards and they get their approval. One of the papers that I ran across,
Are you looking for the state one?
is a state guideline. It's a guideline. It is not a mandate. The towns in the state do not have to adopt the guidelines. But in there, it talks about if you're a commercial farmer, you come under certain rules and regulations. That's governed by the agricultural department if you have one in the town. Before they got pigs, they should have come to this board, put out a detailed plan, a plot plan, the distance between our septic system, our well, their septic system, our buildings, and their buildings, before they put one pig on their property. Now, that's by state guidelines. I can't stop them, and maybe you can't either. But if you're going to be a good neighbor, that's what you would have done. The other issue I have, Amy told me they started off with 4 pigs. They lost one to some kind of a disease. I'm guessing it's buried on a property somewhere, because I know the gentleman that had a backhoe up there anyway, dug a hole, and then he left. So I'm guessing the pig was put on there. There are federal guidelines talking about buried pigs on small acreage property. If you go by the federal guidelines, that pig should not have been buried on that property. It's too close to our dwellings as well as their dwellings. And again, it's uphill from my property, and if that pig was not buried in accordance to the burial procedures, all the residue that that pig will decontaminate into will at some point come across my property. I am very, very upset. I have no one to help me financially. What am I supposed to do? If this was the town water system, the town would have been right on it, the federal EPA would have been right on. Shut them down, remediated the problem, and go. But because it's a private well, everybody says, don't know nothing. Can't help you. I would like, and I know it's a lot to ask, but I would like to see all the pigs removed from that property, because my aquifer for my well goes out across where their well is, out under their driveway, and out toward the brook on the far side of the road. I know that for a fact, because when we dug the well, that's where the water comes in from. When I put in the foundation for my barn, that's the line of gravel. Where my house is all yellow clay. Up in back of the house, it's all blue clay, and that goes down underneath the stone wall over onto their property. And that's why it is so wet over there. I know nobody believes me. I don't care. I know it to be true because I've dug, and I've been on that land since I was a young lad, and I mean young, 2 to 5 years old. I've grown up in this neighborhood. I'm not new to the town of Douglas. I have worked on a farm here in Douglas when I was a teenager. My father worked on a farm. I know about manure handling and runoff. So when somebody says you don't know what you're talking about, I beg to differ. I truly do, because I'm not trying to harass my neighbors. I want respect from my neighbors. I want sympathy and understanding that I have a right to my life to do the way I want, just like they do. But I need to have fresh, clean water, not polluted by somebody else.
Tell them about the
Well,
coffee
I-
machine.
What?
The coffee machine in your seat.
Oh, yeah, all of the stuff inside the house. I have a breathing mask. I've been washing in this polluted water. It's trash. I have So Clean. I have a coffee machine. Cannot be clean. You got to trash it. You got to throw it away. So we have no idea where this is going to end.
Yeah, I think I sympathize with your situation. I think everyone here sympathizes with your situation. You certainly present it very well. You certainly have the facts down, and I'd have to say, and I'm not making any judgments now because I really can't, but I would say that yes, a good neighbor would try to help remediate the situation. I would definitely say that. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to?
Well, I would like to say this.
Yeah.
They have a lawyer here.
Yeah.
If they were going to have a lawyer here, why wasn't I notified? Maybe I could have had a lawyer here.
That's true. That's true. You should have been.
I'm trying to be a nice guy and not get a lawyer. They've already got one. They're the ones that are the perpetrators,
Right.
okay? So you would think that I would have the lawyer first and be going after them. I'm trying to remediate this thing in a nice way and asking the town and whatnot to help out, to guide me.
Sure.
They've already got a lawyer.
Talk about the expenses of things.
I mean, since you brought up this, you said a moment ago that you would like to see all animals removed from your neighbor's property.
I don't hear
The
him.
reason that they, like you said, reluctantly got the water involved.
We really can't hear you very well.
Part of the reason that they reluctantly got a neighbor involved, or a lawyer involved, is because they thought that they might have rights that they had in their property curtailed.
We can't hear him.
Yeah.
Steve's
I know.
hard of hearing.
Can you speak up or can you turn up your volume?
Yeah, I mean, my microphone volume is set to normal. Perhaps the
Is that okay?
volume in the room could be turned
Better.
up. Is there a way to do that?
That's better right there.
No, it's good.
That's good.
So I was brought in for defensive purposes.
No, it's-
He's,
because they didn't
He's
know-
got to be closer to the
again.
mic.
Yeah, we lost you again. Your volume.
Must be the position of your mic.
Yeah,
Must be.
Are you all able to hear now?
we were.
yes.
It was better
You
before.
can hear, but not as well.
I've used the microphone and camera here pretty frequently of late, so is there a way to turn the volume up on the I guess, speaker system in the conference room?
No. No, there isn't.
Are you able to hear?
You were coming through very clearly at one point,
When he was leaning
when
forward.
you were
You're going to
leaning
lean into
forward.
the camera.
All right, how about now?
Yes.
That's better.
Yeah, personally. All right, so
Thank you.
So first off, I guess your neighbors, could you please approach this sympathetically? I mean, I get that you're saying that you have some concerns about groundwater. We'd like to foster an open conversation as well. First of all, we didn't know about your testing, about the results, the locations. You've indicated that there are some evidence of fecal coliforms. I'd love to have an opportunity to speak with I guess the testing people, this is Shoba Analytical LLC, that you've got, just to see where they tested, what the source was. If it turns out that these are coliforms from animals, we are open to mitigation measures. They've already tried to comply with their initial round of projections by moving the location of the pen and trying to be farther away from the property line and move it closer to the front of their property. I would point out that your references to the Clean Water Act could be improved. If you'd like to talk to me afterwards, I'll give you my email address. I think there is a way to resolve this as a civil nuisance question. It may not be of public health issue, which is what sort of becomes a form of health board. I have some general questions about the baseline and about the type of system for waste disposal you've got on the property. If you've got a septic system yourself, maybe we have to figure out what portion of it might be contributed, if any, from the UPs. But there are a number of questions of fact, so we can't let you just launch into the narrative that you did a moment ago without some of the facts being established. But if you wanted to come to me and talk about the kinds of things that you're complaining about, we can do an investigation of the property and try and create some mitigation measures that might make this go away. The week that we had, I guess, rain a couple of weeks ago was quite heavy. You may have witnessed some abnormal sheeting of water, but there's an alleged groundwater contamination plume, which we take seriously. We have to investigate that. If you want to cooperate with me on finding out what your test sites locations were, the level of alleged contamination, the type of contamination, I'd be glad to do that. I've done quite a lot of clean water work in the past, even if you concentrated animal feeding operations, which are 3 orders of magnitude larger than the issue that's in question here.
Is he questioning the results of the test, the water test?
I've seen the results of the test. No, I've seen a single email that apparently had been forwarded by you to the Board of Health, but I have seen no numbers relating to the fecal coliforms that were alleged.
It's present.
No, he hasn't, I guess he hasn't seen the numbers, the actual numbers.
There are no numbers for E. chloroform and
Yes, in it.
the, wait a minute,
Okay,
for,
just relax.
For-
It'll be fine.
So, here, how about this? May I share screen? Oh, no, it's been disabled. I'll show the letter, the same letter.
I got the letter. I don't question you having the letter. I know what letter you got. But the test people say that if you have chloroform bacteria and E. coli present, the word is present, it's non-drinkable. That means you have 1 CFU per 100 milliliter in your and it's non-drinkable.
Right, so
Okay? Now listen to me. That is non-drinkable. The second test that I did by a second firm, and this is the one that cost me $300 to do. On one of the pages, they gave me the number of E. coli in the water is 20,600 CFUs per 100 milliliters. Don't bathe in it.
there are 2 conversations you can put before the board, because, we don't want to get into...
We don't want to talk to him.
facts.
No, but he's questioning the results.
What might be a possible mitigation resolution to proceed as discharge, or we can talk about the source as a question of fact. If they're able to make a decision on it, doesn't have any numbers, doesn't have location, doesn't have directions. So we're open to doing things at the front end of just, if you see a pig pen that you question, putting in a trench or a bioswale or something like that, plants that will develop new roots, removing the location of pain, those are all relatively easy potential solutions. But if you're saying, this is definitely a violation, you want to have a discussion about that, well, I don't necessarily see evidence of a violation here.
That's 'cause you're on their side.
Reach out to this sober analytical and say, would you mind discussing the test sites, the depth, what we're looking at? Because this email doesn't really give us much to work with as a question of fact. That said, we have an opportunity today, at this moment, to talk about the kinds of measures, something less than remove all animals, which they've done temporarily, that might satisfy you, and then we can get a timetable for testing and maintenance. So, as a threshold matter, right now, all pigs have been removed from the property. Because we were anticipating this meeting as of Friday, the property owners went and looked around for someone who could temporarily take custody of the animals. They have been moved off-site as a short-term, emergency measure. There is a question about the number of animals that they are by right allowed to have on their property pursuant to town regulation and bylaw. We believe that it is 4 animals. So if your goal is simply, I want no pigs on the property, you've gone beyond saying, I want to defend the quality of my well water, into, I would like to constrain property rights of my neighbor. And Massachusetts pig cases go back literally centuries.
They restrain the fact that I can't drink water.
As to the question of groundwater pollution, we'd like the opportunity to do an investigation. This wasn't brought to our attention until quite recently. So maybe testing on these properties is something they want to look into. As a stopgap, we can remove some or all of the animals. We can maybe negotiate a number with you on a temporary basis, and we can talk about things like the direction and location of potential farms or moving the pen, if those are things that you're interested in. So would you like to have that conversation, or would you like to
I know.
not?
No.
That's the first question.
Not with him.
Well, I can tell you this. If I were in their shoes, I would not be happy. Okay? First of all, we know that that soil will not absorb any of this water. It will not. It's clay. It's not going to absorb it. Now, my biggest gripe is the fact that your clients never came to the board initially. They should have come before they bought the pigs.
So, excuse me?
They should. Am I right?
Oh, I wholly concur. So the first time that they called me was Friday, in anticipation of this meeting. And I concur with you that, all things considered, it would have been better to approach the board, say we'd like to apply for a special permit. That would give you the chance to look at hydrology, look at elevations, look at the particular features of that parcel. In the future, they would still like to apply, if possible, for a permit. But before we can do that, you know, when your house is on fire, first you gotta try and put out the fire. Then
How about if the house is burned down?
Yeah.
right. So right now, as in anticipation of this meeting, they did remove the animals. They want to do some investigation on their own parcel to figure out what level of waste they're looking at, and talk to possibly either an engineer or a consultant about things like a trench or a bioswale. So if the meeting, I gather this was a special meeting because you're trying to suss out whether there's a direct and emergency impact on health and welfare. Their principal request would be for, I guess, a continuance in order to do some investigation. If they find that there are, soil issues that can be remediated, they will. If not, then they'll have to find some other way to place or resolve their animal question. But right now, we don't have the resolution of data to make any decisions. So the first thing they would request is sort of time to do their own independent on-site investigation. We also are open to cooperating with the neighbors if they have certain ideas they'd like to be put into place. Again, if the only number that we have is this email here, it's a hard basis for us to start with, though I am cognizant that the soil may not be absorbing things well. So I think that at least trenching is something that we want to investigate, and possibly a bioswale, which might involve a trench, stones that allow for percolation, and something that directs water away from the neighboring parcel. And I also wanted to make some inquiries about neighboring waste disposal, think that the properties that are nearby have their own septic systems, because we haven't necessarily shown that the source of all of the waste in question would be the DP's property. There may be other contributing factors.
He has never seen theirs or our property.
He's seeing our septic system did it.
I know.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Steve, you can leave.
Yeah, Steve, you have to leave?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
What, Steve?
Adrian, we have our engineer, our Board of Health engineer here. He has to leave, but he'd like to say a few things. So,
Want to come up?
Steve, if you don't...
I agree that we don't know if there's any factors to do with outside of the pigs, having to do with septic systems, on the property. I don't know if that's an issue or not. That's something that have to be looked at, but those numbers are pretty high in their water, from 20,600. I don't think this is something they could live with for a long period of time. If this has been the case for a while with the septic system, and they're just finding out about it, I think they probably would have had some health issues with that type of, those type of numbers. So I don't know, we'd probably have to find out also, they would have to do that, find out the situation with the water, if these are animal contaminants or human contaminants in the water. But, I mean, that's
So,
kind of all I have to say there.
Steve, would you like to just talk about, in the case, just because if you have to leave soon, if we get to the point in this conversation where we're talking about lay of the land, you've been to the property, would you concur then that it seemed like where that back pig pen was behind the garage was uphill of their dug well?
Oh, absolutely, that area where they have the pigs up right behind the house.
Yep, and
near
then-
the property line, that any rainwater runoff was directed from that pen to flow down toward the location of the well in question.
All right, and then my next question would be the new location for the pigs, where I guess that sow with her piglets was, in the back there. Did that spot seem less adverse in the lay of the land?
It's
to-
less, but I think you need to have an engineer or somebody to look at the, I don't know where the wetlands are exactly in the location of that.
How far down,
How
yeah.
far the distance is and, you know, you're dealing with there. And that's, I guess, the stream or something that's flowing down gradient.
Yep.
So that'd have to be looked at.
Yeah, you're talking about like down by the bottom of the driveway where we mucked through the first time we went?
Correct.
Yeah.
Where that source is and where that's, you know.
All right, where that
where it's
goes.
coming from, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so, does anybody else have anything to say here, or would you folks like to say something, or present your case, so to speak? Sure. Okay.
Just one note. When he was talking about the septic system, ours could be polluting it underneath my house, which is between the well and the house. It's all crushed stone, foot thick. All of that sewage would have to come through under my house. And there's a drain that keeps that from going to my well. That was done on purpose, so there'd never be any infiltration. My well has been there 45 years, has been tested, no pollutants whatsoever. In this report, there's 50 to 75 different chemicals, elements that were tested. Everything is normal, like E. coli. If you want a copy of this, I'd give you one. You'd like one?
Quick question for you. Did you, was this, like, when, prior to this test, when was the most recent water test you've done on your dug well?
Probably 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, because there's never been an issue. Every
Right.
time I had the well tested, it always came back. The only thing they said was I had high iron content. And that one still says the same
Right,
thing.
right.
That the iron, it's hard water in the area.
I think
But other
everybody's
than
hard
that,
water,
it's, but this one here is,
Yep. Okay.
Do you have a copy of that previous report?
yes, sir, I do.
No,
Oh, the clean water?
I can't
No.
find it.
It was so many years ago, I don't know where it got filed.
Thank you.
If I could ever find it, I know the lab that did it, but I don't know if they would have the record still, you know? It was done up in town of Southbridge. There was a lab up there that did it.
Okay,
That would be the closest thing to a basement
thank you.
years ago, but.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. So, I understand that you would have liked us to come before we got our first pigs, but there's nothing directing that we needed to do that or needed to ask for anything, so we wouldn't have had any, like, it wouldn't have occurred to us that we'd have to do that, because there's nothing to say that. We have removed all the pigs. As of yesterday, we have 4 that went to the butcher, and mom and baby have been relocated to a third party at this point. We never intended any harm. We picked this spot because we did not find this to flood. We thought we were doing the right thing. We really did attempt. We had talked to them prior. No concerns were made while we were setting up everything. And we spent almost a month setting up everything and had researched highly on this specific setup because it was better than a deep bedded setup, was what we could find. That being said, again, we spent a month building and not once was a concern brought up. He actually even said to us at one point, it goes backwards towards Patty and Rich's property with the cows, so it wouldn't be a problem. But we wanted to go forward with the sow. Our original location, he brought up, the first time they came to us, they said, what is your manure plan? We came up with a manure plan that was moving it as far away from them as possible and not making an issue. And then they had come to you and was told to see if we can ask if we can move it. And we did. We stopped building that area. We stopped doing anything in that area. We moved it to the other area. When we had the heavy rains, which is the first time the water stayed at that paddock and never would stay, it would dry up. It didn't move from paddock to paddock. And only the paddock that we had ever had a problem with really had water was the very first one, the one that's the furthest away from them in that 5 paddock system. We did put out sawdust, we did put out hay, we did everything we could to absorb water and prevent it going anywhere because obviously there was nothing we could do with the amount of rain we were getting. It's not like we took this lightly and didn't try and prevent any issues.
Okay.
We are not trying to fight with anyone. We got a lawyer, actually on your insistence.
It's a matter of solving,
Yes.
okay?
Okay, but she was trying to say something before you interrupted her. On your assistance, like she just said.
Guidance.
You told us to get a lawyer. So
Oh, yeah,
that's why.
I
we
don't
have
deny
a lawyer
that.
present.
No, I don't, in fact, that's exactly,
I just wanted to.
no, that's exactly my point. We're trying to work with you folks.
And we're trying
we're
to
trying-
work with you too.
Okay, we're trying to work with you folks, we're trying to make this a better situation, but these poor people can't drink their water. Now, it's like if you're in an accident, somebody, plows into you, do you expect to pay all the bills yourself? To fix the car, to buy a new car, or whatever? I mean, maybe it's not the best analogy, but I can tell you this. I'm very disappointed that you really haven't reached out to Mr. Hutnick a little more at this point. You should have seen this happening. I don't know exactly when you noticed did you notice some sort of a change in the water, the taste, the smell, the odor?
The odor was the first thing, but we get the farm next door, Richard and Patty Cole, okay? So you get farm owners. I grew up on a farm.
Sure.
The one thing with pigs, and anybody that's ever raised pigs will tell you, a cow and a horse, they walk in the field. Patty and Richard's, they've got 10 acres over there. The cows run around. The pig pens that they have in the backyard, and the way Amy told me they were gonna lay it out, is there would always be green grass to keep the pig smell down. They would clean the pig manure up and compost it. The pig pen, I'm gonna say, is approximately 75 feet square, divided into 5 different partitions. That's 15 feet by 75 feet, and you got 4 pigs in it. I don't know what the rotation is, but if you rotate them the way that they were rotating them, the day you folks came down to look, was the only green patch, was the center patch. Everything else was brown mud. In the morning that you guys came down, those pigs were up over their knees in mud. They spent 2 days putting sawdust and shavings to cover the amount of mud up. If you put shavings and mud in a pig pen and you get 3 inches of rain like we've been getting, the water flows under the shavings, through the bales of hay, through the stone wall, into my well. The only thing that will stop that from coming through the wall and polluting my well is a 2-foot-high berm that's gonna be dug down through the topsoil, down about 1.5 to 2 feet, and put in there with good, hard-packed clay, an impervious barrier. And then between that barrier and the stone wall, a trench needs to be dug and put pipe in there, crushed stone, filled to the surface, and then drained off to the front of their property to get it away from my well. If they don't do that, for me to reclaim my well, I have to do it on my side. I've looked up prices. It's gonna cost me about $6 grand just for material to do those two things. Again, why am I paying? And again, they're saying they want to move the pigs to the front yard. Out in the front, where you guys came in and walked to the right of the driveway, I talked to John Darling that believe he drilled that well. There's 60 feet of clay under that field down to bedrock, mixed with a little gravel here and there. Where the pig pens are on the far end of their property, all of that runoff is gonna come down that hill into that swallow, side of their driveway, run across the driveway, and into Tinkerbell Brook.
Think of the kids.
So, if you may, Mr. Hutnick, look, you mentioned that you were interested in a 2-foot berm as well as a trench with crushed stone. Features like a berm, a trench, or a bioswale are all things that the police are open to possibly doing. Maybe not all three at the same time, but we want to get an engineer to look at the question. We would like to have better cooperation about possible mitigation measures. Again, this would have been a good conversation to have earlier, but we can have it, now and going forward.
This remediation,
We can probably talk about this. I think there is a good middle ground that can be reached.
it needs to be done immediately.
All right, we're not going to get very far if we're going to be interrupting people everywhere.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have the building inspector here from the town of Douglas, and he'd like to say a few things. Ken?
How you doing? My name is Ken Frazier. I'm the building inspector, zoning enforcement officer. According to the zoning guidelines within the town of Douglas, we're on page 70, Article 8.1.6, use restrictions. I go down to prohibited uses, number 1, discharge of toxic or hazardous material and waste upon the ground or into surface and/or groundwater within the town of Douglas is prohibited. I go over to page 71, number 4, outdoor or underground storage of leachable waste, hazards, or toxic materials, including but not limited to sludge, septic, chemicals, fertilizer, pesticides, herbicides, manure, road salt, de-icing compounds, etc. Line B, normal agricultural operation provided that the agricultural related materials included but not limited to the commercial fertilizers and animal manures are stored within a structure designed to prevent the generation and escape of contamination, runoff, or lactate, leachate are all prohibited. So I'm sitting here as a zoning enforcement officer, I'm listening to this, and everything about what I'm hearing is that the pigs are, the waste product of the pigs is leaching. Whether it's above ground, below ground, it's leaching, it's going someplace.
If we are on page 70, if we look at section 9, now again, this is not a commercial feedlot, but there is an exception for...
Page 70, section 9, you said? Page 70, what section?
This is, we've got B, prohibited uses, and then section 9. And that's section 9 is going to be on page 79 of the PDF. Now, this is not a commercial feedlot.
It's not, I don't know what page you're looking at, but I don't have a section 9 on my page here.
Zoning bylaws for Douglas.
Zoning bylaws for the town of Douglas, page 70, 8.1.6, use restrictions.
Are you using the same revision document?
I'll defer to his version. I'll have to bylaws later.
Okay. Well, it is in the town bylaws. And what I'm seeing is that apparently there's a problem with leaching coming off that needs to be taken care of.
And we're saying we want to take care of it. If they're saying that if it's for sure it's coming from us, we're saying we're willing to put in something
I
to
think
prevent
that
this.
this guidance puts the omen on you as the person with the animals to prove that it's not coming off the property onto the neighbor's property. Okay. Now, I have no enforcement as a zoning officer to say you can't have the pigs there. My understanding with the Board of Health is you can have 4, and there's 11.
Currently, there's 0.
Okay. My suggestion, and it's purely a suggestion at this point, I can write orders up for this, is that the animals not return until the problem is resolved in its entirety. I can write up zoning orders on that if that's what we need.
We're saying we're willing to work forward. We want to go forward. We need to bring in the right people to assess what to put there, is what we're
And
saying.
that's fully understood, but what I'm saying is right now, the problem exists, whether it came from the pigs or not. It appears as though it has. I can't make that judgment call. I'm not a geologist, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a land surveyor. I'm going by what I'm listening to. It appears as though the problem's coming there. So in order to alleviate this problem, I think as the person who has had the animals, it's on you to prove that it's not coming from there, or that there's a permanent remediation that could happen so that this doesn't continue. Until that time, my recommendation is that the animals not be returned to the property until that final finding is found. Say,
If we were to commit to keeping the animals off for the next 30 days and request a continuance of this hearing so that we could perform testing on the site, would that be something that you would be satisfied with as a temporary measure? Animals would return for 30 days, we perform testing and possible begin mitigation and bring results to the board in 30 days.
My only reservation is that the Hutnicks are without the use of their well, and what do they do for 30 days?
I think they were without the use for, how long did you say, 180 days?
November 27th is the earliest I can start cleaning my well up. Not
So even today?
get it done,
Okay.
to start cleaning it up.
Yeah.
Respectful Chairman, even if a final order was issued saying the animals couldn't return, that wouldn't change the November date for when chlorination of the neighboring parcel.
No, it wouldn't, no.
So in terms of the next 30 days, we're asking for continuance to be able to do investigations and show, maybe a map, proposed mitigation measures and so forth in that 30 days. And that allows the board to keep its oversight if there's an issue of health or human welfare that is still there in 30 days. Compel or issue orders as are appropriate, but over the next 30 days, that gives us time both to contact neighbors, to involve any environmental professionals as necessary, and to keep, particular directions at a minimally intrusive level. But, you still have discretion as you waive, I suppose.
That could potentially solve the problem.
Good. Yeah.
Sounds like he's saying that then they would be willing to look into that matter and find out what, we saw the puddle of water.
Oh, absolutely.
So, they're going to
No
find
question.
that they need to create a berm.
Yep.
They need to create a manure handling area. That's what they're going to find out, which I'm sure you're already aware of. They're just going to find out, with all the tests and everything.
I would venture to say if they get into the whole concept of where they're located, I haven't been on the site, I'm listening, it sounds like it's on the side of a hill, running towards a butter's property, also running towards a brook. This covers overlay watersheds and everything else. If that's all the way into a well as prescribed, I mean, the testing's got to go into the brook, the whole thing. I don't know how they can get it done in 30 days, but again, that would be on your board as far as saying you don't want the animals back. I mean, as far as zoning goes, I would say until the problem's remediated, that they shouldn't be back on the site.
Right.
No, I'm
They
assuming
need to have
there's-
some kind of a containment.
I'm assuming there's zoned agriculture down there.
They probably are.
It's RA zoning.
Yeah, all right, just making sure.
Can I possibly
Sure.
say something? I'm Stephanie.
You are who?
Stephanie King.
Oh, okay.
These are my parents.
Oh, okay. very
So I
well.
grew up on the property as well.
Okay, Stephanie, go ahead.
You had asked earlier if they had noticed anything, and my father mentioned the odor and stuff coming across in the air. My parents have been saying that they haven't felt well, just like that malaise, not feeling well, maybe diarrhea here or there, for months. Just thinking, well, I must have ate something, I must have, now that they found out what's in the well water, we're really thinking that's probably what it was.
Well,
And not
probably, but we have to do testing and everything. But my point is this, I think even though what's done is done, we have to look to probably really solving this problem. And it takes whatever it takes to do so. Dig the berm, build a berm, dig the trench, put the stone in, whatever. Then if they're willing to go ahead and do that, then that's a possibility. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's the solution to the problem, but that's a possibility. It's a
I'm just
start.
concerned with the amount of time it's going to take to do
Yeah.
that, and my parents can't even start cleaning up. They're in their 70s and they're boiling water.
Absolutely, I understand.
Well, the pigs are gone, so there's no more.
Taking showers at other
Right.
people's
If
houses.
that's where it's from.
But however, okay, in all honesty, as far as I'm concerned, those, the odor is still there. The toxic whatever is still in the area. It's just, it just turns my stomach to think that if I had to live there and I had to, shower or whatever, or try and use water, it's awful. It's awful. It's a bad situation. There's no question about it, in my mind. Yeah,
Well, I mean, if the contaminants are there and they're proven there, they've got to be removed.
exactly, yeah.
So not just building a berm
That's
or a
right.
swale,
That's
it's
right.
got to be removed.
That was
And-
my next question.
And
Yeah.
continuing testing has to be done to make sure that no more contaminates, lactates, whatever, leach from that area.
They could very well have to truck out that
Exactly, yeah.
current manure,
Yeah.
the current paddocks that they
I mean,
have.
it could be very similar to, here's an example, the gas station that had a gas tank leak, and they ended up having to have test wells in to see where the leaching was going, to make sure that the leaching stopped, and that the contaminant level mediated.
But if they're going to be doing this testing, that'll provide a lot of answers for those questions. I assume they'll probably do uphill testing too, to see what percentage of anything contaminants are coming from those pig pens.
Right.
I
Well,
assume they'll do a lot.
right. I mean, you're probably wonderful people. It's nothing personal, okay? But I have to say that these poor people are in a tough situation because they're without water. And you can't be without water. Clean water. And we have to do something to solve this problem as soon as possible. So you say 30 days, Adrian?
Right, it's 30 days for a mitigation plan, because again, they view theirs, a permitted use is farming, gardening, nursery, but it says in the statutes, provided that manure and other leachable substances are not stored improperly so as to result in groundwater contamination. So we want to return with test results that show that, maybe we had some surface flushing that can be cured with best management practices with possible engineered solutions, but that there's not a fundamental, deeper groundwater contamination issue. So we want to do some investigation, and then we'll come to you with a proposed mitigation plan.
So that's 30 days and nothing is really accomplished up to that point.
Well, to be fair, over 30 days, if the animals are not physically on site, you've already started the clock in allowing that whatever substances are currently in the well to progress towards being remediatable by November. If we come in 30 days and you look at the mitigation plan and say this is not enough for us, a more significant solution may be what would be necessary. But if in 30 days we come in and say, okay, we'll do a trench, we'll put up a berm, and here are our test results that show that it's not more than 3 feet deep, and outside of heavy rain events, it's not going to be a leaching problem. Perhaps that would be sufficient. We have to have some data to be able to.
Does this round of testing that they're going to perform include a retest on Mr. Hutnack's well, dug well, at the
good question.
towards the end of this 30-day period? That, because then you could at least use his current test as a baseline, and you could see what type of levels have changed in that amount of time. I mean, the clock with the pigs gone starts from last Friday, right?
Monday, they were all gone on Monday. They were out of the paddocks
Oh, yeah, because you moved.
last Monday.
How many pigs were out?
The 3 that were in the back paddocks,
So-
they were all moved last Monday.
Okay.
As soon as we got the phone call.
So maybe if they move, if they would be willing to test the neighbor's well, the dug well, and see what levels that's down to in the
I
course of
think
3
it's
weeks'
only
time,
fair that they test.
4 weeks' time. That
Right.
may give us some more information on this, or them some more information on this as
Right.
well.
Right. How about
And-
removal of to me, that's like, I look at it like an open septic system, basically. That's what I look at it as. It's an open septic system. And the only thing you can do, as far as I'm concerned, my thinking is that the only thing you can do is remove what's there. Get it out of there immediately.
Well, if you're considering it an open septic system, we then approach this as a Title V septic system violation. That has, I think, separate procedural grounds that may not be appropriate towards.
Well, we're not talking Title V, though. I'm just saying it. Go ahead.
Can I make a recommendation that you hire an engineering firm to go in and do a full report on the property to make sure where the problem's coming from, where the lactates, where it's leaching from, where the situation is, and come back to the board with a full report as to
Absolutely.
what the engineering firm has come up with for contaminants, where they're coming from, because they can find all that out by testing. And then you have the answers. You're not sitting saying, well, if I don't put the pigs back there for a week, is the problem going to go away? Or do the testing. You're going to have to expend the money. You're going to have to get an engineering firm in and do the complete testing.
Yeah. ASAP.
I think that's the only way that we're going to get.
So the only way you're going to get a full report,
Better.
unbiased report of what's going on, where it's coming from, and what mitigation needs to happen to get rid of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Ken.
Because if they dig another well, even if they did it at their expense and the contaminants are still there, it's all for naught.
That's right. That's right. That's right. How are you folks dealing with this? I mean, with water situation?
Our daughter bought us our first batch of water. We went and bought more water. I'm boiling water 3 times a day. We're getting water from our other family members. We took a bath last night at our son's house. It's not easy.
No, I'm sure.
It's really not easy. I have to wash,
Clothes and sink.
I wouldn't wash, the only way I can wash the clothes is put them on the sanitized thing. That takes 2 hours of the hottest water, so that's more energy being used. Some things you can't wash in that kind of water, so then I take those to my daughter's or my son's house to wash.
Okay, how do you feel about, are we still talking the 30 days? Is that what we're still talking?
Well, yeah, I would think you would want to report back within the 30 days to find out what guidelines they've come up with.
Okay.
Because
30
we can't
days should
install
be an
anything
adequate
without
amount of
knowing
time.
what,
I'm sorry?
so basically, the reason we would need 30 days is because you need to know what to do before doing it, because if we just put something in,
Oh, absolutely. We have to know,
30 days was to produce an engineering report or the investigation and a proposed mitigation measure scheme. We'll do it as quickly as we can. If we call up, one of the environmental companies and they say, we can get out next Wednesday, and they come out in a week and they say, here's what you could do, and it only takes 2.5 weeks. Well, we share it with you in 2.5 weeks. I think it was less than 30 days. At this season, in the middle of summer, it's very difficult to get the environmental companies out, especially for a job that is not huge where the overhead or the profit for them is large. If you call and just say, we want a test, it's only going to take 3 hours to come out and do your evaluation, but we need it ASAP, they'll say, I'm sorry, I can't put this on my docket, and they will pass over it. So if you say, we need the report in 2 weeks, we'd be in the position 2 weeks from now saying, we call the following 6 companies, they decline to come out and do testing, we still have no data. And that would just mean that we couldn't move forward in any meaningful way based on the data. So we're not trying to say we don't want to do work to resolve the problem. We'd like to be able to do that after a reasonable investigation. We're asking time to move into compliance portion.
how do you folks feel about that time period? I mean, at least they're trying to move forward and correct the situation, right?
But they want to study the problem for 30 days.
no, we're saying we need 30 days because we may not be able to get someone that quickly. We have to get them and get results.
If this,
But if a backhoe went in there tomorrow.
But how is that
dumped
saying
a
that's
trench,
solving the problem? If we just put a trench in, that doesn't say we solved the problem.
Solves my problem, because it stops coming onto my side.
Okay,
of the
okay,
property.
okay. I don't want an exchange here. Yep.
if and when this problem gets solved in the back of their yard, the pig pen, does that mean that we put in a new well or we get our well clean and everything's hunky-dory and then they put 30 pigs in the backyard again? I mean, 4, I'll say 4, 30 is an exaggeration. But that means they get to put 4 pigs in the backyard again?
If they create a manure handling system that allows
Yeah.
them to do so safely, then yes. That's their, I would assume that would be their zoning.
Why in the world would anybody go through all that expense to raise 4 pigs?
It's
I
not
mean,
for us to
that's, yeah,
decide.
it's really not for us to decide that, But what we're trying to do here, I think, I hope, is that we're trying to come to some sort of what do I want to say? Common ground,
Yeah.
so to speak, okay? We want to be able to leave here and we have a plan. And and now we're looking forward to straightening the whole thing out.
It's just so difficult because my whole house is infiltrated with the filth of their pigs.
I understand. But, right now, we are where we are.
Yes.
Okay? We're not going to go forward unless we go forward. Okay?
Yeah, he's right.
So, right now, I know, I would like to go back and change everything, but you can't do that, okay? So now we have to say, look, what's the best way to deal with this, okay? And that's what we have to do. You're going to have to come up with a plan that will work for everyone here, okay?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So if they go and get it engineered and then
Yep.
come back next meeting, say that's the end
Yeah,
of
in
August.
30 days or whatever, yeah.
And present it, if they're okay with it, then they have till November, before November to put in that trench and
Yeah,
berm.
yeah.
We would be putting it in as soon as physically
We
possible.
want to put in the work at an earlier date, but what we want to do is go to the engineer, and I guess I was speaking to my client about timelines. We're not proposing that we, get a study now and then wait until November to take the next step. We get the study, and based on the expert opinion of our engineer, we do what the engineer suggests, unless there's a prevailing reason we can't. But we will talk with the engineer, and after this call, I'll talk with you about how we can interact with the engineer to get this done in a way that's helpful.
Okay.
but
But after the engineer, they have to come back to the board before they do anything.
Well, we'd like to see the test results, yeah. We'd want to see that.
And talk about the recommended solutions probably, right?
Yeah. And at this point, I don't see where Mr. Hutnick should be spending his own money to do these things, so this is why we're moving forward here, okay? We're going from here. It's not a perfect solution to the problem, but it's a positive solution, and that's the way we have to look at
Have
it.
to start somewhere.
Yeah, we have to start somewhere, and this is where we're going to start. Now, yes, Ken?
Can I ask the board, it might be a possible, a helpful mediation at this point to cover that area with some kind of impervious materials?
That would be a
The
great-
entire area, so that if it does rain, you're not getting more leaching out of it?
Yeah.
And that would
Construction,
help with the
straw.
lactates and the leaching going onto your property. And get all the engineering, I would
Absolutely.
Like a silk
recommend
fence or-
to get
Yeah,
all
silk fence, yeah.
engineering in place before anything is done,
Yeah.
as far as digging trenches and all that.
Great idea.
But they can cover that whole thing, just like you would do in any hazmat waste,
Yeah, yeah,
cover that area for protection.
right.
That is
So
a,
as soon as it's dried up, when it started drying up, we spread down cover seed to help.
Yeah, not cover seed, I'm talking 10 mil plastic with straw bales down on top so that nothing gets under, nothing can wash from that soil, going a perimeter around the area so that you're not getting any drainage going in at all to that area.
That's it.
It would be just like any hazmat site, the same way they would cover it. If you see an oil spill, they could have all the hay bales and the coverage over it and everything, so that nothing can get moved by Mother Nature.
that is a
So-
substantial area.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I just got one more question. So if this comes back, after we do the engineering, we do all the testing, and it comes back and it has nothing to do with the pigs, right? And I don't mind putting in the berm, I don't mind putting in the trenches because of however the land was laid before I bought the house. But I've also incurred spending my money. So
Yeah.
I want you guys to be able to see that side of it too. I will work with everybody, but if it comes back, I just want it to be aware.
Well, we'll deal with that.
When we
come
get
it,
to that
right?
point.
Right. At this,
Trust me, my first phone calls tomorrow, we're gonna be to engineers and
yep,
anyone
okay.
else I can get.
Okay, we'll draw something up here as a kind of a binding situation where you'll have to proceed in the right direction. I don't, I think talking about it and saying, yeah, we'll do this and we'll do that is fine, but we need a binding agreement here to get this done. Okay, folks? Everybody? How can I say? Should we actually vote on this?
Bob, my suggestion is we start putting together a motion in bullet form, because there are a number of issues involved here, so let's make sure we have them all covered.
Yeah, yeah.
What is it, we talking about no pigs on site until the engineering study is complete?
That's right.
From now until then, no pigs?
No pigs, yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, the slope of the land is substantial,
of course. Yeah.
so we're also talking, you writing bullets?
Yeah, I am right.
Okay.
There you go.
We're talking 30-day engineering
There you
study, up to 30 days engineering study. Are we talking about putting an impervious cover over this large area?
Yeah, we have to. We have to.
All right, so that's 3.
Mhm.
Getting the Hutnax well tested after,
Say again?
are they going to be getting the Hutnax well tested after the 30 days?
That's part of the engineering study, isn't it?
Yes, if it comes back that the pigs are responsible for the contamination, then there's no reason why the Hutnick should have to pay to test their well or even chlorinate their well. That should be in there as well.
It would seem like also that somebody ought to be buying bottles of water
That's right.
for washing your teeth, brushing your teeth, drinking, cooking.
This is where our wonderful nurse comes into play.
Is this an omnibus vote that you're proposing the following measures in a single vote, or are these portioned? Because some of them, things like remove animals from property for 30 days, that's easy enough to comply with. Things like covering the entire area with an impermeable surface is technically difficult and is a large expenditure. And things like providing another party with potable water, that requires different factual findings in those too. Are you doing it as a single vote or as an omnibus vote?
Well, we were making bullet points here, and we would probably make it one vote.
I would imagine, I don't see how we could make somebody provide somebody else with potable water if we don't know that it's,
Yeah.
we can't say 100% sure that it's them until we get the engineering report.
Can you speak up, please, Corey?
I don't think that we could make anybody give somebody potable water until an engineering report would at least tell us that it's in fact.
Until the engineering study is complete?
Right, would at least tell us that.
Scratch that one.
There would be, you can only ask for so much until you have a
Yeah.
engineering
But
report.
the engineering study should include
Can only demand so much.
content of the land,
Yeah,
possible remediation.
all right, possible
It
contamination.
should also include chemical tests of the water, so we know whether we're talking human contamination or animal contamination.
All right. I'm sure they took samples from the pig pens too, and probably before the pig pens uphill and downhill and that, where the puddle sort of was. I'm sure there'll be multiple samples taken from
Sure.
The engineering study may say that none of this is possible.
Hutnack. Mr. Hutnack should allow the engineer to go on his property and test the other side of that stone wall where we saw the puddling.
That's right.
And you could kind of see the water
That's
coming
right.
down the grass. I mean,
Yeah.
they may want to take soil samples there. So Hutnack should be in compliance with allowing this engineer on their property to take necessary samples. The impervious cover, I agree that would be a great thing.
Yeah,
That's an expensive thing to require somebody to do prior
that's
to
that's the
knowing.
thing. I was going to ask
I don't know how
our
much we
wonderful
can do.
building inspector here, in zoning officer. Is there a way that we can contain that area without a massive, in other words, trying to reach a reasonable figure here to,
How big is the area?
It's roughly just over 5,000 square feet.
I mean, I'm only talking, 10 mil rolls of plastic that you roll out, and you put them in a layered form so that water sheds down on top of the plastic.
they're not going to be
doesn't go
able to do
under.
it themselves. They're going to have to hire somebody, obviously. Right?
Whichever way they would have to do it. But
Yeah.
if there's the potential that the problem's coming from that area,
Yeah.
it's not going to get any better if they keep allowing it to
That's true.
wash through.
So-
And that would probably be better than a silk fence and hay bales on the border, because that would just,
Absolutely.
all the rain would just shed off. We wouldn't be
Absolutely.
worried about the
Yeah, I
source.
mean, I hate to say it, but that's what you have to do. This is it. I mean, we can't,
I mean, it sounds like it's an underground problem. It's a runoff, but it's going underground, so I don't know that putting straw bales and all that and trying to contain it into a pond-type area or something like that is going to contain it, because apparently it's going down to a sub-layer and dissipating down through.
So
So
we probably
if
wouldn't
it's
do it.
doing that, then you need to stop it at its source. I
Do we
mean,
know how deep the
when you
duct-
have any contaminants from gas stations and everything else, first thing they do is cover the whole thing with an impermeable surface.
You're going to have to do
Well,
it.
we don't know that it's going underground, and part of the engineering study would be to determine that, wouldn't it?
Right, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying in the interim,
Yeah.
you need to mitigate it in any way you possibly can, or it's just
Okay.
going to get continually worse.
That's right.
So one other question that I have is, who is paying for the engineering study?
We would.
Well,
That would be
they'd
the,
have to pay for the engineering.
So that's in our motion also.
It's not right.
What's there?
If, for some reason, it turns out that it isn't from the pigs, the contamination, then we deal with that. But
Okay.
right now, at this point, they're responsible,
Okay.
okay? How many bullets do we have?
So are you ready to entertain a motion?
I am. Yeah, I think once we,
I was just going to check
maybe
with
Amanda can,
Do you want me to read it all?
if you could.
Hopefully everything's correct. So a motion that no pigs are on site until the engineering study up to 30 days. The study is going to be a testing of the contents of the land, possible of contamination of the water and land, and previous covering over entire area. That the study will also include the retest of the well of the Hutnacks. The Hutnacks will be in compliance to allow the engineer on their land, and Amy Lugable will pay for the engineering.
Okay, does that satisfy everyone here? Okay.
And I'll make that motion.
You make a motion, yeah?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's passed then. This is what we're going to be shooting for, folks, okay? So let's get on our horses and get going. All right?
Can we request a written copy of the final vote?
Absolutely, we'll send, yeah, definitely. Definitely, yes.
And also, did you all make any findings of fact associated with this vote?
I didn't get that. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't get it either.
Any findings of fact associated with the vote?
Wouldn't it be section,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
the section here?
yeah.
yeah,
I can
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, we can do that as well.
And we're also sending him copies of Hutness tent report.
Sure, sure. Okay?
I give you a copy of this tomorrow, Kristen. All right.
Does that satisfy everyone here?
You could
The best we
include this
can.
map of the land and tells you the elevation and the
Right,
direction
gives
that
you
it's
the
headed
elevation, yeah.
through there at the back of their garage, so
Yeah, yeah.
that could be potential
true. That's
evidence
true.
for
Yeah.
at least the potential leaching. I mean, all we're saying is that the probability of the contaminants coming from there being it uphill is fairly high. So in this time frame, we need to solve that problem as figuring out exactly where it's coming from, so I mean, it's not.
You want a copy of the report also?
Yes, please.
Kristen, copy of the report here
If you,
also.
actually, if you send it to our lawyer, we can get.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll-
That way it's one less than.
yeah. Is there anything else that you need? Adrian?
Oh, no, a copy of whatever testing numbers have been received so far.
Yep.
Okay,
Current starting point.
okay, great,
In order, the minutes and findings back to the
very well.
All right.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Hopefully, we're on our way to a solution.
Yeah.
Bob,
Yes.
I'd like to say a special thank you to Ken and to Steve.
Oh, absolutely.
For their effort today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you very
Ken.
much.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I have to excuse myself. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms.
I
Hunt.
have one question.
Yeah,
See, now, this is all going to take 30 days. I'm not going to wait to stop my well from being contaminated. Does this board have any objection about me taking and regrading my side of the stone wall to stop all the runoff from going into my well?
it could possibly affect the testing.
I need drinking water.
I understand, but we want to solve this problem and not create another problem. So I think, let's work it where we are, right here, okay? We're going to move forward here at this point. I know it may be inconvenient for you, I understand that, but we're trying our best, to do, to
I
help
know
you
you are,
folks out.
but you have no idea how this is impacting us.
I do, I
try-
sympathize, I really do.
Right to stop.
I understand. I totally understand.
We're
I do.
doing, this is
But
going to be,
we're making a step forward.
I know.
Okay?
Oh, but it's just,
At least, listen, Mr. Hutner, you're not walking out of here,
I know. but
you know, you're gaining, you're not losing. Okay?
it's hard. It's hard. But I would hold off for a couple of weeks and see, hopefully they'll get somebody sooner than later, and it won't
Yeah.
even take 30 days, and if we find out in a couple of weeks, it would be better if we had like the current circumstances that the engineer was looking at. As soon as the engineer comes, I mean, if you want to start adding some dirt, I'm not going to tell you you can't add dirt. But I would be
We have to
cautious
wait till, yeah,
about what you're doing on your property until
this is figured out
Yeah.
just for your benefit or your sake later down the road. That would be my only, I mean, I don't want to say too much, that's my only advice.
Existing conditions really matter when you're doing an engineering study.
right.
You've got to know where you are.
Right, I'm not going to tell you what you
We
can
think you
can't
know,
do, but.
but we don't really know. That we need to do.
The motions that we
You
made,
know what it feels like?
I think she.
I have an artery cut,
a copy of
and
all
I'm
the
bleeding
bullets.
out.
I
And everybody's telling me I
Okay, 'cause I've
sympathize
gotta
with you.
rewrite it.
But I'm the one that's bleeding. I'm the one that's hurting.
Well, we're trying to stop that bleeding, so.
Yeah, as best we
That's what we're
can.
trying to do.
And I thank you for it.
Right, and we got to
You're
do it
very welcome.
the most
We-
legal way we can.
You're very welcome. Okay?
Hopefully this will be solved, and by November, you will be like, this never happened. That's what we're going for.
That's what we're
All
going
right,
for,
So
okay?
hopefully it'll be,
Okay, folks,
upset you
we're
can't turn
we're
back
going to
the clock.
continue our meeting here, so.
I actually only have 3 full minutes left.
okay,
We have to
that's
make a
fine.
vote, let's make a vote for our thing,
For what?
before he leaves, for the grant oversight board.
Oh, yeah. We have a position,
What is it, can you explain it?
Yes.
yeah, can you explain it?
So. we
Thank you,
are-
folks, for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
You're
for your
welcome.
time tonight.
You're very welcome.
So this is related to the grant we have received. We are joining 7 other towns, as you know, and they are requiring that each Board of Health from all 8 towns appoint someone who will be two people who will be attending like a monthly meetings, being in contact with them. It involves like interviewing the inspectors for the positions, like has to be appointed, 2 people appointed by Board of Health.
Okay, anybody interested?
Does that include either you and I?
Yes, you know what, and they said like it doesn't have to be more members of Board of Health. It could be Kristen, it could be me,
Just
anyone.
appointed by us.
Someone who is, yes, someone who
Okay,
will
I
involve.
wouldn't mind doing it myself. So I could do it. Anybody else?
If you wished, I could do it.
Well, it's Dick and I.
But if somebody else prefers,
No, I.
No, that's
Kristen,
fine.
put your hand up.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yes, no, I have a son, so he's only one. I have to,
No, I mean, you did a great job in
oh,
listing the.
thank you. I'm just trying to rewrite it.
Okay, so
clear.
it's, we need a vote on that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We have
You-
Bob
yeah.
and Dick
Okay.
be the representation required for the
Thank
grant.
you. Yep. Okay, the motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
I don't know if you can second your own motion, but.
Okay, motion
We'll take
passes.
it.
That's it.
All
You
right.
and I.
Ayes. Ayes have it.
So this will also involve, we will provide them, Connor, with your contact information, emails. And so you will receive the emails about the meetings.
Okay.
And the meetings are on Zoom, right? The meetings are on
Oh,
Zoom.
Okay. So
Right
we do
now-
them right here?
We do them
Oh, right home,
Home.
okay,
From
I see
home.
what you mean.
So right now they are on Zoom, that could be a physical, when situation
Yeah, yeah,
changes,
yeah.
it could be like meetings
Okay.
in person.
Oh, that's easy enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Okay. Sound great. All right, Corey, if you have to go, now's the time.
Are we done, or are we going to make?
I think that our swine regulation is seriously flawed, and I'd like to offer 2 proposals to fix it. One is, I sent it out here earlier about counting piglets.
Well, why don't we hold off
Yeah.
until we get to the old business,
I
new business?
agree with you,
okay?
Dick. I do
Yeah.
agree with you, though. I like that, the weaning age of animals, counting them.
So you want to hold
You're
off
right.
on this discussion until later,
Okay, yeah,
in this meeting.
in this meeting. Okay,
I'm okay.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, you're talking about that for the purpose of this bylaw, that's.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And that's really not a bylaw, that's actually, like you said, a
It's a
regulation.
regulation, yeah.
Right.
It's a regulation, which is different.
Which I would,
But we aren't discussing it, we're talking about something else.
Yes, yes.
right. No, and that's important clarification on that, so sorry. All right, I won't be here for that.
All right, I know you have to go, Corey.
Yep.
so That's fine. Thank you very much. huh?
Excuse me.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you all. Have a great day.
Then we have-
Let's see, 1, 2, 3, we're okay.
I had a plan, but I got way off the plan. Whoa. Okay, anyway. Next up, we have transfer station. Do we have anything going on up there?
Yes.
Yeah?
I would like to, and I've also handed that out in the bottles and cans
Yeah.
redemption thing.
Yeah.
I would like permission from this group to do a trial run, probably mid-August to mid-September, with possibly 4 different groups. I have 4 groups who are very interested in doing this.
Okay.
I stopped and talked with the Cub Scout troop the other day that was collecting them at the fire station.
I was just going to ask if that was anything to do with you.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
They do that periodically.
Yeah, I
So
drove
stopped
by
and
and
talked
saw
to
it.
them.
and I
It
was like,
turns
oh,
out that I know
wonder
one
if
of the
Dick was
people.
involved.
I work with him.
Oh,
So, yeah, they're very interested.
Good.
And the town council
Okay.
has said that he is working with his own transfer station.
oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, he physically is working with them
Really?
in terms of the same
mean
thing we're
Richard?
trying to do.
Rich?
And so, yeah, so he has said we need to have them sign a release,
A release, yes.
which is a lawyer covering his you-know-what.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Because-
it's also covering us.
Yeah.
If something would have happened there and, you know, whatever.
But
Most
we have
likely
peop-
it isn't.
But we have people in there all the time,
I know, I
and
know.
we don't have them sign a release.
Do you have any idea of what type of a structure we would have there to receive this stuff?
Yes, I'm thinking just trash barrels
Okay,
with a plastic bag inside. They come along at 3:30 or 3:45, whatever, grab the bag and leave.
okay.
They might spend time going and trying to get some others out of the container, but
Because what Sutton did is they had the Boy Scouts that are doing it, but the Boy Scouts actually built a little shed type thing. It looks good. They painted it,
Yeah.
and it looks good. Donations, you know, bottles. They did a great job.
so the trial run would be very basic.
Yeah,
And then I've set up a data sheet for each of the groups to fill in, which at the end of this thing we'll summarize and come up with some look ahead.
yeah, yeah.
So with
I'm
permission of the
glad you
group,
have nothing else to do.
well, with permission of the group, we will
Oh, absolutely.
start handing these out.
I give Dick a hard time, but he's a good guy. He takes it
He has
well.
things done.
Yeah.
So I want to hand these out to all of the people who come through and take the
Right.
stuff in the transfer station a couple of weeks in advance,
Uh-huh.
and then we go ahead and start doing it, just on a trial.
Okay,
And then I'll come back and report to you guys and tell you how we did.
sounds good. Sounds good. Do we have a motion do we need a motion here?
Probably.
Yeah.
So the motion that I would make is that we do a trial for nonprofit groups for the collection of cans and bottles with redemption,
Okay.
and it's in a 4-week period of time.
Sounds good to me.
I can second that
Second
motion.
it? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Good, thank you.
we're there. And do we have, the can collections now? Oh, any new business, old business? This is where you come in.
The pigs.
Bigs? I don't think we really have anything
Piggy.
else going on.
I have a question too.
Yep.
Kristen, and did you guys ever sign up for that thing in the Cape?
No.
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 Because, it's like, it was like this complicated process. It's not like it's this simple.
Oh, okay.
How did they feel about, you know, the administration about?
No one
doing
talked to us about it, and we didn't approach them,
that? Oh, okay.
So,
I think they wouldn't mind you know, doing things like that, because it really helps us to see, to know what the, yeah, I don't know.
We could fill out, there was a form we could fill out and.
we will follow, but, like, I don't feel like coming in front of Board of Selectmen and convince them.
I totally, I do it.
Yeah, like, they should be sending people to conferences.
Right.
This is trainings, it's
Yeah.
something what should be included.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to, I would go up there and,
Yeah, we can fill up the form and, request, but we feel like we could really learn a lot there. So I know people from other towns are going, Sutton is going, Uxbridge are going, Northbridge. They are surprised, like, oh, you never been there? Like, they go every year.
yeah,
Not
see,
like
that's,
after now.
we should be doing that, yes.
Yeah, so,
I will, like I say, I'll do whatever has to be done.
You know, because these are like different inspectors, health inspectors giving speeches, like new laws, state regulations.
Right.
How many times Kristen gets a phone call and she has no idea what tell people, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like you get really trainings on new regulations, changing regulations, state requirements, you know, beside, you know, learning of bylaws.
You wanna hang
and
on
learn
to this?
so much there.
Yeah, it sounded like a good learning opportunity, and it seemed a little fun,
Yeah, oh, you know, it could be nice.
the games and stuff. And
Being away from kids, it's fun.
yeah, I was just gonna say, if my son wasn't so young, I'd say, sign me up.
Yep.
Okay, we all set? I propose that we adjourn here.
Kristen, did you ever follow up on whether we're being paid for the metal in cans, the big cans container?
Oh, I actually just got a bill. No, we're not getting paid for it now.
I wonder why.
It's a whole overhead, because
forgot
it used to be a
to talk
whole,
about
now we have to pay overhead and
Okay.
they
Yeah,
had to
but we
split it up.
get paid
Really
for
worried
the
about
white
it.
stuff, the big
Thank you.
metal things. Why can't we get paid for the cans? Metal's metal.
The cans go to Blackstone Valley Recycling.
And the other stuff
And
doesn't.
BP gives us the
Okay,
5% for the big metal.
all right. Here, my two suggestions are the regulation be modified to count piglets after they wean.
Sure.
And the second modification that I believe we need on that regulation is with approval of the Board of Health.
Yeah, okay.
And that way you can't just go putting pigs on your property by right, which is
That's right.
what the lawyer said. As soon as he said that, I went, oh.
Yeah.
And you know what, learning from this
And that's-
experience, I feel like inspectors should go and inspect the property and see where the pigs will be put
Yeah.
before the problems like this arise.
No, absolutely. They didn't do their homework at all. They just went out and bought pigs.
Well, but the way that regulation is written, that
Yeah.
allows them to
But
do
they
it.
never read the regulation. They never read it. They just went ahead and did it, you know.
I think they just wanted
Mere
pigs probably to,
detail.
for a profit and did it, and I don't think they meant any harm
Oh,
in
no, they
it,
didn't. They're
but,
good people. It's not
right,
that they're
and
not
it
good
just
people.
happened,
It's
and
just-
now it's like,
But you know, pigs cannot be more important than health of.
right, exactly,
Right.
exactly.
I don't think
No,
it was
totally
done
agree.
with evil intent.
No.
No.
I mean, it's like,
But the
it's like-
best solution would be
But if you
remove it,
If you
so-
looked at the slope of the land, you would not put pigs there,
Right,
oh, no way.
Yeah.
No
or
way.
anything else that's going to
That's right.
defecate on the soil.
And
It's
not only
going to
that-
their property.
Little did we know that there's nothing but clay underneath there.
I mean, if I was the
mean, that's-
abutter too, I wouldn't be,
So I'd like to make a motion,
You pull into that driveway and you can smell it. That's how strong it is. It's
Yeah.
really strong.
yeah.
It's awful.
I don't want to be biased, but I would.
I feel bad for those people because,
oh,
you know, I mean,
Poison those people.
yeah. They're, what they're faced with now is,
And they are, older, so it's probably harder for them to
Don't
get
get
around.
going on the
No,
edge,
no,
Dave.
no.
yeah, be careful.
To get around
Be
and
careful.
go,
that's right.
it's probably a pain to
And
go,
I'm old enough to be his father, so you be careful. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the modification as distributed,
Uh-huh.
that the piglets count as swine after weaning.
I like that, yeah.
All right, so can we take,
And I like the Board of Health thing too.
approval.
so should we make them both in the same motion?
Sure, why not?
All right, and then we add with agreement of the Board of Health.
Okay, motion?
I second that.
That's a
Second.
motion.
Okay.
You want,
Second.
second.
Yeah, you said.
Okay,
All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Okay, there we go.
bye. Oh, when's the next meeting?
That's what we need, yeah.
So the land inspection, whatever study, needs to be done, and because there was discussion that they cannot put the
The
pigs
animals-
back until the study is done.
The 30 days.
Yes, but you know what, but I think it should be like, it should be reviewed, because they will do the study, it's like, okay, we have done, let's put the pigs back.
So we have
Right,
to wait
so-
till the study comes back and then.
Yeah.
Well, it's reviewed.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't want that.
So 30 days,
anything
I
until we
figured
know
they
the
would come to the
results,
next Board of
period.
Health meeting, and then we'd decide if the pigs could
Yeah,
come back.
has to be-
Unless it comes back earlier, then we can change the meeting
Yeah,
date
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
to bump it up.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
Because they
always
have to
bump it.
present the study before
Right.
they put the
Right.
pigs back.
So we'll tentatively make it for 30 days?
Yeah,
sure.
So that would be like,
Because if they can't get it, at least we
27th
gave
of
them the
August.
30 days.
Let's see.
Is that a Monday
Say
or
August
Tuesday?
30th?
Sure. Is that a Tuesday?
No, it's a
Monday,
Monday.
Monday or Tuesday?
Monday. yeah.
Monday.
What time?
6?
Okay.
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
We have company.
So 8:30 is,
Is his name Adrian?
yeah.
Adrian,
Adrian, can you hear me?
he's still there.
Yeah. He has a problem, I mean, I can tell what the problem is, with his
Yeah.
automatic gain control. Because it would go up, when it got loud, it would back him off, and when it got soft, it would get him
Oh, I
up,
see,
and it
yeah.
just kept doing this.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
shut it off and gone manual, he could have set his volume, if he can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, well. So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move, we adjourn.
Okay, we adjourn.
Second.